My name is Clara Tauson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Well, hello there, and welcome to WTA Weekly. And I am joined by my fabulous friend from North America, the one and only Carson Nix. Carson, welcome back to WTA Weekly. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Nick?
Yeah, I am doing very well, thanks. I am surprisingly not tired, given I stayed up till 2 a.m. my time to watch the Montreal final. A decision I do not regret. You probably don't need to worry about that because it was probably a sensible time for you. What's the latest you've ever stayed up to watch a match, Carson, and felt like the most rewarded for doing that?
It would probably have to be, the Australian Open and everything in the Australian swing is at a terrible time for me. So, it wasn't like an all-nighter, but I have gotten up at 1 a.m. before. That's my notification, if anyone heard that. Put on Do Not Disturb. But I have gotten up at like 1 a.m. to watch some finals in Australia before. So, was that maybe Nadal Medvedev? The most like crazy one.
Oh, Nadal Medvedev. Oh, yeah, that would have been worth getting up for.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and Medvedev Sinner, another one that was absolutely insane match as well. Yeah, everything in the Australian swing and some of the Asian swing as well is pretty bad timing for me. So.
Yeah, I can see why. I think anything US Open night session is pretty bad for me. Anything Australian Open day session is bad for me. So I think the latest I've stayed up and like not regret and like gone, that was worth it, was watching the US Open women's semi-finals in 21.
Yeah.
Watching Fernandez beat Sabalenka and then Raducanu crush Sakkari, which as a Brit I was very excited for. But that took a lot of recovery. Took a lot out of me, especially since I was driving the next day. So that was probably not the smartest choice. Let's go to the present though, because like definitely wasn't regretting staying up till gone 1:30, nearly 2 a.m. to watch Victoria Mboko win her first Masters 1000, win her 1000 title, win any title on the WTA Tour, and win her home tournament in Canada, which is huge. So 18 years old, big talent prospect. Carson, are you in the first of many camp or are you in the wait and see camp?
I'm in the first of many camp with her. I think some may call that being a prisoner of the moment. Obviously, massive title for her, but her entire season has been absolutely incredible. Like she's not really losing to anybody anywhere. It's August. I think she's only got like 5 or 6 losses on the season. So it's been an insane season, and that's WTA 125s, ITFs, like that's culmination of everything. But I think she's absolutely incredible, and it's strange. Like she's so young, plays so well, and there's so many things that she could still improve on. as a player. Like, she's not a finished product at all. There's still room for growth in her game. Where are you sitting at with that? Do you think this is first of many, or
I
Really?
lean injuries permitting, first of many. I think it's very easy to say that, like the people she beat, the season that she's had, as you pointed out, like barely losing on the tour. And really, to be honest, ever since she got onto the main tour, she's only really losing to top 10 players. And even they weren't a problem for her this week. So it's even Grand Slam champions weren't a problem for her this week. It's been an incredible story. We'll get to Naomi in a minute, but for me, I think this is the first final in a while where I've been excited for the story of both players, and like it was the two best stories of the tournament going head to head, which to me is almost the next best thing to a 1v2 final, and probably even rarer. I don't know how if you see it that way, Carson.
Yeah, I mean, the story's absolutely incredible, and I mean, this was a fantastic run for her. Rybakina in the semifinals was a really tough match and had to come back after a pretty nervy first set from her, but yeah, played Gauff as well. Sofia Kenin, Buskova as well, which Buskova is not the highest ranked player that she played, but that's like not an easy matchup at all. So yeah, really solid string of players that she had to go through this week in order to get this title. Yeah, great story.
Yeah. And for me, Osaka as well, but we'll get to her. Carson, you mentioned the fact that you don't think her game is the finished product. I mean, I'm tempted to say, like, I don't know what else you can do really, because her, like, everything just looks so smooth from like a stroke perspective. It's very well timed, very well. Yeah, it's just very clean hitting that Mboko can produce. And you know, the first serve, when she can use that really well, and that first serve turns up when she needs it the most, and that's been the story of so many of her matches, especially at this tournament. So yeah, am I saying that she's the finished product? No, she's 18. I think what she'll need experience, and I think there is a step that we should need to take, which we can talk about. But what is it that you're identifying and saying, well, hang on, she needs to fix this?
Not really fix as much. Like, I don't think there's anything with her game that is broken per se, but I think that the power is incredible. Like, she's got no fear at all. Serve is very, very good. I agree with this comment that you just threw on the screen from Windermere Jones. Like, net play is something that she could improve at. I think just, touch around the net. I do think as well, like, when you look at who she has lost to, sometimes big power can be an issue for her. Like, I forgot. Yeah, I'm just like looking through her like record through this year, and I mean, great losses, like great wins, but like the losses, like Badosa in Miami, Gauff in Rome, Zhang in the French Open, Wimbledon was Haley Baptiste, and then Washington D.C. I believe that was Rybakina, who she came back to here. So I think, like, you look at all of those players, like those are, Baptiste aside, top 10 players in their own right. So she's playing very well, but those are all like power players who are also going to like get really big balls back at her. So I think like some of that defense can improve, and just like learning to deal with that high level power more, which is going to come as she plays more of these matches. Like, some of that is just match play, I think.
Yeah, because it's interesting you're saying that, because I have a number of thoughts on that. First of all, I can't think of a WTA player who deals with power well at all, like, or who can't be overwhelmed with power. The only one maybe is Coco Gauff, who, by the way, is not necessarily a power player herself, and maybe the exception to the list, along with Baptiste. Baptiste is more of a flair player. But definitely, like, I think that Baptiste one was probably down to Mboko kind of getting used to grass still, and that surface suiting Baptiste pretty well. But you're also thinking about what you're saying about power and sort of having to deal with that. You know, I would say, okay, fair enough, that's a pattern, but she actually beat a bunch of power players. I mean, Osaka and Rybakina, there were some really big rallies between her and those players in like the in the biggest matches, in the highest pressure situations, semi-finals and final, which, you know, goes 3 sets. She has to come back in both matches, and she's still willing to go toe to toe with 2 of the biggest hitters on tour, and is able to do that. And I would argue her defense in that final that they played in Montreal was pretty good. Like, I think one of the reasons why Mboko won that match was she was able to keep getting the ball back and make Naomi play the extra shot. She was so good at getting everywhere and getting it back, and not necessarily tapping it back either, but counter-punching a little bit. Maybe not counter-punching a little bit, but like, you know, able to keep going with it and make them either seize an opportunity or Naomi makes a mistake. And that seemed to be the pattern I was seeing. So I do wonder whether she's already well on her way to overcoming the issues that you raise.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned, like, reps are going to be the biggest determining factor of that. Like, that's hard. That's something that's difficult to just replicate in any practice environment. So reps are going to be like, that's going to be the thing that helps her get more comfortable with that. And yeah, she's beaten some very good power players. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with anything you're saying. Like, I think she's good at it, and she's fine at it. No one on the WTA is great on it. Like, aside from Gauff, maybe Sabalenka when she's firing on all cylinders. But I do think it is an area of improvement, as like the WTA is moving. To me, it feels like it is overall moving a little more towards being more power. Like, you see like more power hitters moving up the rankings this year. So that's a bigger conversation about like the state of the WTA than like this specific tournament. But that's like one area of growth I would see for her.
Yeah, maybe so. Like, I could see, I mean, but power will get you a lot of places. There are a lot of really big hits on the tour. I still think there's going to be place for great defending and great counter punching, like you see from a Gauff or an Andreeva. Or maybe there's the kind of games that sort of settle really early. But what's impressing me is Mboko's is the kind of game that takes a while to, I guess, settle and be consistent. And she seems to be able to do that. So we'll see how it is. I mean, like, yeah, you know, as Ghost is pointing out here, the fitness is also the question. We don't know how that's going to work out. She has come back from an injury last year. Which is why we weren't necessarily seeing her do an Andreeva, if you like getting success before turning 18. But let's keep looking at sort of Mboko. And I want to say this, like, okay, she's now crossed the bridge of beating Gauff. That's why she was in my head. And she's now got revenge on Rybakina as well, and you know, she's able to beat top 10 or close to top 10 players. Now she's crossed that road. It's clear to me that she can beat Gauff when Gauff is having an off day. I think when Gauff is a little bit more on it, I'll be interested to see how she deals with the fact that ball's going to keep coming back. But how do you see Mboko matching up with Sabalenka and Swiatek right now? Those are the standards by which the tour is going to be measuring themselves up, and there is a big chasing pack behind them, but it does seem to be that, you know, you're having a good week if you are playing well enough to beat Sabalenka or Swiatek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think there's anyone on the tour she can't beat right now. I do think that, I mean, Sabalenka, once in a while she can have an off day, but like that's nearly like a different level of intensity, as well as power. Like there's never a let up from that. And yeah, Swiatek is almost just like a different puzzle that you have to solve on the court. Like it's just different things. She's just going to get everything back, and it's hard to get anything by her. So I think like she's on her. I think she can beat either of them right now. I do think it's going to take a different level of consistency from her. I mean, just won a title, but yeah, I mean, first set against Rybakina, was it 6-1, I believe?
Yeah, 6-1 to Rybakina. Yeah,
6-1, and then the final against Osaka started like she lost the first set 6-2. Swiatek and Sabalenka, like Gauff when she's on, those players probably aren't letting that get away from them quite as easily. So I think like starting a little bit quicker is going to help her. And it's her first 1,000 semifinal, her first 1,000 final, playing in front of her home crowd. There are some nerves that played into this for sure. But just starting out a little bit quicker, I think, is more important when you're facing the top tier of players.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a really, really good point. Yeah, you have to be on it from ball one. It's harder to work your way back into a match against those three players that we mentioned, Sabalenka, Swiatek, Gauff. I mean, especially Swiatek, who is known for being such a great front runner. If she's got any kind of foot on you, she's going to move it up to your neck, and will keep you and will keep her opponent pinned down. Sabalenka will fight back, can fight back, but But if you can build any kind of advantage, that's the best way of beating her, because she's a very difficult player to fight back against. And then Gauff is just like, yeah, she'll make any match a scrap, and just eventually you run out of energy. Yeah, I think she's definitely, as you said, can beat anybody, and she proved that by the title run, which we've got here, like 4 major champions beaten. Like I think she's going to beat anyone else. It's just those three, and you're right, starting quicker and matching that intensity, which will come from experience and building on her game. I think that's when you will see her being a real rival to those players. Until then, she's going to have to turn up and hope they're having a slightly off day to stop them. But that's not crazy in the world where the WTA is a little bit up and down with those players. So, yeah, I think you make a really, really good point. And I think you've hit the nail on the head with where it comes to Mboko at the moment. So, yeah, is there any other final thoughts on Mboko before we kind of wrap up her storyline? And let's face it, the biggest storyline from the tournament.
Yeah, I don't know that I have other thoughts on this. I mean, great run for her. Yeah, just incredible. And really happy to see her at this point.
Yeah. Do you think we're always going to keep calling her Victoria Mboko, or do you think Vicky Mboko is now going to be the name? Because I'm now starting to see that being brought around. I don't know what her preference is. I don't know if she said.
I'm not sure what her preference is. I mean, Vicky is shorter to say, so it probably will be that eventually. But yeah, we'll see what her preference is, I guess.
Yeah, guess we'll find out. All right, let's talk about her beaten opponent, who, was the other story of the tournament. Definitely on the lead up, but maybe not necessarily by the end for the best reasons. That is Naomi Osaka, who, was in the final. Let's kind of get this bit out the way, because I know it was one of the first things that we saw people talking about when we started. Where are you on Osaka Gate and her reaction to losing that final?
Yeah, I'm not. I think like maybe bigger picture on that. I was trying to think of like when's the last time she faced an opponent that had the crowd behind them like that?
Good question.
And I mean, I think you have to go back to the US Open against Serena, which was the beginning of the slide. And so there's a part of me that just wonders if, and Naomi has been very open about her mental health and what she's going through emotionally on and off the court. There is part of me that just wonders if there was a little bit of an emotional flashback to that, and if she just like froze up throughout the second part of this match because of that, and just like let the crowd get to her a little too much, and was just like reliving a former moment. So I mean, with that context, I think it's kind of hard to like fault her too much. I think it's, I mean, a little disappointing, I think, but I think mentally she just didn't seem like she was there at the end of the match. And maybe it's what I've just talked about, maybe it's something else, but yeah, I'm trying to have a little bit of grace for her as well in this, I mean, pretty difficult moment at what was a very good week and a half in Canada. So like making the finals of a 1,000, she's back into the top 25 now. Like I think if you told her at the beginning of the year and where she was at then that she was going to reach a Masters 1,000 final, get back solidly inside of the top 30, I think that, and that would happen before the US Open, I think she would feel a little bit of relief that that level still existed in her game.
Yeah. I think it's an overall positive week for Osaka. We'll go back to maybe the reasons why for that. She said it seems to look like a lot more like the Osaka a bit more like the Osaka we would recognize, rather than the things that we've seen sort of glimpses of, particularly that match with Swiatek last year. I kind of agree with the comment I've just seen flashing up here on the live chat. Osaka's mental health is a subject for speculation, and I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't feel comfortable with speculating on any players, but Osaka's being so open about it is a double-edged sword, because I think it was an overall positive thing to kind of be open and kind of open that window into like in a world where we have a little more empathy towards it and understanding of the importance of mental health. I think highlighting it was great. But it just means that now everyone who's trying to analyze her will always come back to that. I don't think that's, I think in terms of the final, yeah, mentally she checked out a little bit, but also I do think Mboko got her, that was reaction to, oh, this is no longer going to be an easy match. And Mboko steadied the ship her side. The crowd was really behind her. She was really working to keep herself in points. And it's always about, a lot of these comebacks depend on how do you adjust to your opponent changing the level. And I don't think she adjusted very well to that. Now, with Osaka kind of big picture and sort of what happened afterwards and doing the very sort of blunt speech and whatnot, I'm sorry. No, I'm not, actually. I don't care. Like, I genuinely don't care. Like, I was annoyed with Sabalenka post-French Open. That was a whole different thing because she had time to process her emotions and she still said what she said. With Osaka here, it was right after the match. You could see her eyes were red from crying. She did not want to give a speech. Frankly, if I was feeling like that, I wouldn't want to give a speech. I know anyone who could give a speech in that kind of circumstance. And to be able to remember to thank everyone diplomatically, including your opponent, including whoever else was there, which is a whole bunch of PR BS anyway. is frankly, it's frankly unreasonable. I don't think she behaved badly. I think she was emotional. I think she needs to process that. We didn't give her time to, and you saw that she was a lot more measured in the press conference afterwards. So what she didn't say, congratulations to her opponent. She was really, really upset. She did that later in the moment. Is she going to thank the crowd? No, they were against the whole time. I would have gone full Medvedev and gone, your booing would have, thanks for booing me, guys. Okay, he didn't win that match, but okay, he won that match in that case. But that's a whole different thing. So we're way overblowing it. People are not being emotionally sensitive enough to it. That's my take on Osaka post-final. I've just ranted, I don't know however long, but if you want to come back on any of those points, Carson, feel free, because I'm not going to just move on. Otherwise, I'm just going to move the topic on.
Yeah, I think it's a good rant, though, and I think it's appropriate. And yeah, it's if you're going to make your like a person who just lost a final give a speech literally minutes out of losing a really tough match for her. Like, what is she's? I know what she's supposed to say, but like, you're not in the mental or emotional state to process all of that right there. Yeah, like I don't really care about that, I guess. Like, she can, yeah, she wasn't like cursing anyone out or anything. Like, it could have been much worse than it was. But yeah, it wasn't, maybe not like the most professional, but like also that's like a really tough spot to be in. I don't want to have to do that at any point. Like, lose something as emotionally and mentally draining as that, and then step up to a microphone and thank 15 different groups of people. Like, that's not where your mind is at after that.
No. Like, yeah, you can have these polite and say friendly losses after a 250 or a 500 final, depending on how close it got. Because, okay, you lose that, not a huge deal. I mean, I don't know how, I didn't watch Eastbourne, so I don't know what Alex Ayala's final losing speech in Eastbourne was like, but that was really tough, so I could see that happening. But when you're talking 1,000 on Grand Slam, and again, like, if you get creamed, then yeah, you can be polite about it, because yeah, you know, okay, fine, you know, I've got time to kind of, you're probably processing that loss during the match. But it was kind of, that match kind of got away from Osaka there. So I think any kind of thing else would have been disingenuous, and I appreciated seeing how genuine she was. Now, it does open up something that, like, you know, we're talking about the mental thing here. Let's not necessarily talk about mental health, but maybe mental, because we can say a lot of good things about how Mboko dealt with the situation. I do think the way Mboko dealt with the match was ultimately what turned it, because Osaka had to react to it. Because we've seen the story of the tournament was, oh, Osaka looks like she might be back. She saves match points against Samsonova, crushes her way through the rest of the draw, has a tight two-setter with Clara Tauson in the semis, but gets the final. Looks like it's all kind of flowing a bit better. Is her mentality the only thing holding her back right now?
I think it's the biggest thing. I don't know that her shot making from the baseline is consistent enough right now to put her back in the top 5. Mm-hmm. How much of that is tied to the mental thing, I don't know. It's like, I mean, you mentioned it, it's kind of like this double-edged sword. Like, everything can kind of come back to the mental health, and like, yeah, I don't know how much that is affecting every part of her game. I don't think she's as mental health aside. I don't think she's as good of a tennis player as she was 5 to 6 years ago right now. I think there are things she needs to do to improve to get back to that level. I don't know how closely that is intertwined with the mental health, though.
I guess only she can say that. I mean, I keep going back to something Iga Swiatek said about herself, which is if she's feeling good, she's going to play good. And I think that's every player. And Iga's just said what is basically how it works. I think Arena's said that before as well. And it'll be the same for Naomi. And I know what you're saying about she's not playing as well as she did 4 or 5 years ago when she won her last couple of slams. And there is something different in the way that she's processing things, and we don't know what that is, but it looks like it. What is it that did you see any kind of hope game-wise this week before the final? Let's take the positives now for Naomi. Any positives from what you saw from her before the final, even during that first set? And are we putting that down to Thomas Viktorovski or Patrick Mouratoglou? Or we're putting it down to Naomi Osaka and actually coaches are just there to build confidence and not games?
I mean, with her, maybe a little of both. Like, she's got the level. We know that. So, I mean, coach can definitely help, but like, she's got the level to do what I think it's fair to say she expects of herself. Like, I think her own expectation is still really high. Like, she doesn't think she's a borderline top 50 player. She expects to be higher than that. And has said as much in a couple of press conferences towards the beginning of the year. Like, she was very blunt. Like, this year needed to be a massive improvement for her. So, yeah, I think maybe a little bit of both for her. I think there's hope. Yeah, like saved match points against who is that, Samsonova? Coming back from a set down in that one. And then, yeah, I mean, just absolutely crushed Svitolina. And then got through a really tough match against Tauson in the semifinals. There's hope for her, definitely. Like, this is not the end of her tennis career because she lost one match. Like, she's still a very good player, I think. And frankly, I think the ranking she's at now is 24, 25, somewhere around there in the live rankings. But I think that's closer to the level she has right now than 49 was. So
I'd agree.
Yeah, she's not a bad tennis player. There's still hope for her. And like, yes, she can improve in things on the court, but yeah, it's not like a hopeless situation here.
Yeah, it's not a hopeless situation at all. I like what you said there. Like, yeah, I think the ranking now is more reflective of her level. And hey, look, when you've done something really a good piece of work before, and if Osaka's won 4 Grand Slams, of course she's going to expect, well, she knows that level is in her. Why not? Why can't she get back to that? That's sort of how Emma Raducanu's been trying to kind of process things. Like, I've played well enough to win a slam before. Why can't I get back to that? You know, that's probably in the mindset of someone like Yelena Ostapenko as well. So, although Ostapenko's got a different problem, in that she does find that level. It's just not necessarily at the same time as a slam happens. Yeah, Osaka's definitely a good player. But yeah, at the moment, she's got that thing that she showed 4 or 5 years ago or longer. Like, we're coming up to 7 years since she won that first US Open against Serena that we mentioned earlier. I think she knows she can get there, but the level she's playing at includes her very much in that big chasing pack behind the current 3 at the top: Swiatek, Sabalenka, Gauff. And I guess I've got a similar question there off the back of that to kind of close out the Osaka chat, which is, similar to the Mboko one, which is, can she match up, or do you see a scenario where she starts being able to match up to those three? And basically, I guess the overall question around that is, do you think she has a part to play in this current era?
I mean, part to play, like, that's pretty broad. I think she's in the conversation.
Well, yes, but depends on what it is.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you can say this about anyone in the top 200, frankly. Like, there's a role for them to play. Like, what is that role? What is their expectation of that role? And I think she has a higher expectation than she has right now. If she's going to do that again, winning Grand Slam titles, I mean, things in her game need to improve for sure. She's not there right now, but yeah, I think like consistency is going to be the biggest thing, just on a like game to game basis, like not dropping off as much sometimes.
Yeah, consistency is definitely the thing that she's struggled with the last sort of 3-4 years. I think you just gave the perfect answer, by the way, on terms of role to play. I don't think I or anyone else could have given a better answer than that. You've mentioned Osaka's game a couple of times. So what, in your opinion, are the things that are holding her back? We've talked about mentality already.
Yes. Yeah, we've talked about mentality. Like, just strictly tennis, I think the serve can be better placed sometimes. Sometimes to me it feels like it's get the ball into the court, start a point, and then try to win it from the baseline. I think she might have a little more power there, and can be a little more clinical in that. And then consistency from the baseline. I think forehand side especially, like, can be more of a weapon than it is right now.
Okay.
That would be my short answer, because we've spent quite a bit
going on there. Yeah, I have no notes on that because I just haven't observed anything that I would change. But that's interesting. I think fundamentally it is like about a lot of these. I think with any player, any player has the game to succeed. Doesn't matter whether it's power based or defense based or variety based. It's the ability to execute week in, week out that's going to define how successful they are, which I think kind of appropriately brings us to, let's go to the semi-finals now. Elena Rybakina, who, is now in an interesting place because she's just lost 2 tough semi-finals to the eventual tournament champion. Did she have match points against Fernandez in Washington, or was she? I think she served for it.
Yeah, I think she served for it. I don't remember if she had match points. Maybe someone in comments will remember that better than we do. But yeah, I mean, kind of brutal, and it's been a bit of a trend this year. Like, just hasn't quite been able to get over the hump on a consistent basis. It's interesting. Like, right now, is she 9th or 8th in the live rankings? I can't remember. But she's a top 10 player, very good. Has won Wimbledon before. Made finals, major finals at the Australian Open. That was a great match against Sabalenka a couple years ago. So yeah, there's been a little bit of a drop off, and this season it's been just a little bit inconsistent at times, I think. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's just self-belief in some of these moments. Whenever I watch her play, like, I still think the game is there to win some Grand Slam titles. I still see I'm not seeing like a major drop off in anything that she's doing on the court. It's just like consistency sometimes seems to leave her.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm going to ask kind of a follow-up on that. How is that? We're talking about it's not quite the same as it was. We've seen like, because 2 years ago, even doing the show 2 years ago when we started it, like Rybakina was in the top 3 with Sabalenka and Swiatek, and then Gauff added to that, and then sort of Rybakina seemed to drop away. And we're always comparing her to that period of that obviously winning Wimbledon, and then that early 2023 when she won 2 1000s, and she reached that classic Australian Open final against Sabalenka. But the situation you've described could have summed up Rybakina pretty much the last 2 years to date, post Wimbledon 23. I think this has been going on longer than people have realized, and we've only latched onto it because she had that long break with the kind of multiple injuries and the coaching crisis. I don't know. Like, I want to just ask you: what would your take on? Would your response to my take be on that? That actually, this has been how Rybakina's been for 2 years.
I mean, it has been happening for 2 years, and I mean, I'm trying to think like other than that. There was a final. Was it last spring?
Doha against Swiatek, 2 sets. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, it was against Iga and clay.
Yeah.
It was on clay somewhere in the spring.
2024.
Yeah, 2024. Where was that?
Iga beat her in Stuttgart in 24.
Was that 23? I think. Or
no, that was Rome that Rybakina beat Swiatek in 23.
You're right. Yeah, but what am I thinking of then? She won a title last year where it was like beat a couple of top players. Kostyuk was in the final, I think.
Stuttgart. She beat Kostyuk in the final and Iga in the semis.
Yes. Stuttgart. I mean, other than that, it's hard to like think of a tournament where she's been on like for the entirety of the tournament. So certainly this has been going on for quite a while now. It took me a while to get there, but yeah, it's been going on for a while, and yeah, I think she's playing overall, like given everything in her game right now and the variability of consistency, she's playing like a top 10 player. I still think when it comes to like danger level of who's capable of winning a slam, I still think she's top 5 in that conversation. Just because we know what the level can be when she's playing really well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Like I think she's going to be back in top 10 live rankings. I think she's on her way there based on how Cincinnati throws a curveball in there. But yeah, she is playing at a top 10 level. But the trouble is for most people, because they remember what she was like when she was a top 3-4 player, that's the level we expect. And right now, that's not what she's playing at, but top 10 is still pretty darn good. I would say that, like, despite these really tough losses, it does feel like she's made a bit of a step, Wimbledon accepted, forward to kind of, it feels like there's been a bit more like, she's been a bit more in it. It's a marginal step. I think there needs to be another marginal step in there, but there are signs that she could be working her way back to that. But I think you've nailed it on the head. Like at top level, that potential, when you talk about slam winners, Rybakina has to be considered. She's done it before. She was very much in the mix a couple of years ago, even a year ago. Always is at Wimbledon. So I think that's a really good way of summarizing where she's at. And I'm interested to see how she does in Cincinnati and when she's next gonna win a close match. Because I do think she will. I think there is a day coming where she wins one of these close matches, and then that changes how a title works out. Because if certain matches have gone different ways, we could be talking about her as the Berlin, Washington, and Toronto and Montreal champion.
No, there's certainly a world that we're not far from where she is in this top 3, top 4 conversation in the world. Like it's, just a small number of points in a few matches, and everything about the rankings looks completely different. Like right now, like if we're going into a Grand Slam, I'm picking Rybakina above Anna Samova or Andreeva, I think, in terms of winning a Grand Slam title, just at like any random slam. Surfaces aside. But like consistency wise, like she is behind them, and just results wise over the last 12 months, she's behind those two right now in the rankings. But like that's just an example. Like I'd put her above those two in terms of favorites to win the US Open, for example.
I think for me, that's going to depend on how Cincinnati goes. Although having said that, Andreeva's not playing Cincinnati, so that's not going to help her prospects. I would say if I was going to group players, like you've got this top 3 group who are week in, week out consistent. And then you could have this giant amorphous pack of about 20 odd players who on their day can challenge something and do something crazy. But if you're going to kind of cherry pick from that group, like maybe some who are slightly further ahead, like that sort of in between the front winners and kind of the rest of those who could get there, Rybakina's definitely in there with Andreeva, with Keys, I would say as well. Maybe like there's a few other players that you could make arguments for. Maybe Mboko will be in there one day. I don't think she's there yet, but she's making strides towards it. But yeah, I would agree with that sort of sentiment of she's going to be in the conversation. Don't know if she's going to make my US Open power ranking, but we'll see. She just basically because weirdly she doesn't do well at the US Open. She's never made the last 16 there, so. That's the one slam that's kind of got question marks on with Rybakina, despite the fact that she it's a surface that should do well for her. But maybe, hopefully, this time she's not going to be as burned out as in previous years.
I think not as burned out, and courts are supposed to be a little bit faster this year, again, which I think we heard this last year, and then they weren't necessarily all that quick. If they are, that's an advantage for her more so than some other players, I think. But yeah, I mean, the US Open thing is a little bit weird, but I do feel like she'll be a little less burned out, and yeah, I think there are just fewer questions about her like coming into this US Open.
I like that. Yeah, there are still questions, but I'm in the same place as you. I feel like there's fewer questions about Rybakina, and that is progress. Right, we're just going to rattle through some other stories from the tournament. Let's talk about the other semi-finalist, the fourth one, Clara Tauson, who is having a pretty solid year, would you say, Carson?
Solid is a great way to put it, and I don't know, maybe even underselling it a little bit. She's been absolutely incredible all year long. So, yeah, great run for her. Took down Iga, which always a great win. Who else did she beat in this tournament? I don't know if she...
Keys. So she got 2 top 10 wins and 2 Grand Slam champions from this season. So, yeah, I am underselling her.
It's, yeah, I mean, great run. And then pretty tight match against Osaka. The scoreline in the first set, maybe a little bit deceiving about how close it actually was. Second set was really tight though tiebreaker that I'm pretty deep into the tiebreaker. Yeah, she's having an incredible year, and yeah, I just really like watching her a lot. But really looking forward to this Cincinnati tournament she has, and then just interested to see what she can do at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I am too. I think she's starting to assert herself as a name to be put in the mix. It just depends on what sort of percentage level you put her in the mix, but she's always going to be one of those names that you watch in a draw, especially sort of this run. After this run, the run that she had in Dubai, beating Keys at the start of the year in Auckland, beating Sabalenka in Dubai, and now beating Iga. Like, Tauson's a dangerous player. If she can keep it together for long enough and maybe she was a little bit unfortunate not to make the final. It was tight with Osaka. And then who knows, maybe she would have handled that match better than Osaka did and we would be talking about a different result. But if ifs, buts and maybes, Tauson is a player that I'm always going to keep an eye on, always going to hype up after the results she's having this year. And it does feel like she's so close to a big title. Not necessarily saying Grand Slam, although she would be one of those wild card picks that you probably wouldn't be surprised to eventually get to one. But definitely a 1,000. Definitely 1,000 feels appropriate for the level she's showing at the moment. So that feels like a question to me of when, not if, injury permitting is the big caveat I will always put in, because Tauson does have a history with it. I'm hoping that this season is suggesting that that's going to settle down in terms of the injury question.
Yeah, I think I'm just looking at the live rankings right now. The only other players in the race rankings, the only players in the top 20 younger than her are Coco Gauff and Mira Andreeva.
Wow.
So she's still very young. I think we forget that. She's got time to figure this out. And yeah, it's maybe taking her a little bit longer than those two. But she's got everything in front of her still. Like, I don't think there's anything she can't do.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Everything in front of her, nothing. And I don't, there's no obvious weakness with her. I think when her game's firing, she beats anybody. I'd be interested to see how big a stage that she can do that on. But I have no doubts that she couldn't. So watch this space with Clara Tauson. Someone we're always going to be watching the space for is Iga Swiatek, who Tauson beat, as we mentioned earlier, in round 4. It was a straight set loss. I did feel like Iga probably should have won the first set and then just let the match run away from her when she didn't. But it's strange because there wasn't a massive outcry after Iga lost. It just seemed to be, it's a post-Wimbledon come down. It was a bit of a very up and down tournament, like scrappy start, then settled down in her opening match against Gao. She then, beat Eva Lease fairly comprehensively, and then this sort of happened. So she didn't get off to a great start, and that probably didn't set her back. But nobody seemed that disappointed in her, and she didn't seem too disappointed in herself, which I found very interesting. Where are you at? Has kind of your view of Iga kind of post-Wimbledon kind of shifted after this tournament, Carson?
I'm not sure that it has, really. I mean, reaching, this was a round of 16, so 4th round here. It's not terrible a result. She's had some decent results in Canada before, but yeah, Tauson was just on, and yeah, first set was really tight. Probably should have gotten it. Tie break was not very good. Yeah, Tauson just ran away with that, and then just never really got into the second set, it felt like. So yeah, I'm not like shifting what I think about the US Open, I think, based on this match. But yeah, I think it is what it is here.
No, it just seems to be like that. Nobody was really reading Canada as a read for as kind of a form book for the US Open. Even the players weren't. I mean, Sabalenka didn't even bother to play. Yeah, I just like part of me is like after Iga lost, I was like, oh great, are we resetting back to how things were post Roland Garros? But I don't think so. And actually, you know, she had a very similar loss sort of in 2022 playing in Canada and then Cincinnati. So, and then went on to win the US Open. So you can't necessarily read too much into that. If she gets last 16 again in Cincinnati, I'm not going to hit any panic buttons if she loses past that point. It's just, yeah, I am very happy that everyone, including Iga, seems to be going easy on an Iga loss after this tournament. Maybe it's contextual to where the tournament's at, where the players are at, where the tour is at, being a bit tired. But I'm certainly happy with that. And yeah, like you, it doesn't necessarily change the conversation around US Open for me with Iga. Does any US Open conversation change for you when it comes to Coco Gauff?
I don't know. Like, she's just such a hard player to read on a week-to-week basis. I mean, I don't think it's encouraging the way she lost. It was a pretty straightforward match against Mboko at 6-1, 6-3, I believe.
6-1, 6-4. It was definitely 6-4, just because I think Gauff only got broken once in the second set, and that was to lose that.
And I mean, first couple matches, even like Danielle Collins and then Kudermetova, like both of those went 3 sets. So it wasn't like she was just like steamrolling people through the first couple of matches. So I mean, there's a part of me when it comes to Coco, I just like put it into this different category where it's like it's just Coco Gauff. Like she's going to lose some of these matches, but it's going to be really scrappy. And when she's on, like, can beat anyone. Like I think she better than anyone avoids letting one tournament affect the next tournament right now. Like there's just a level where like she'll go out in Cincinnati and it's just going to be a different challenge. And no, she may not win the tournament, but like it won't be because she lost early on in Canada.
Yeah, no, you're right. She won't treat any tournaments differently. I do wonder though. I do find it interesting that she's kind of dropped off post Clay. Like it's very odd. Like she's what two wins, 3 losses since winning the French. No wins on grass, couple of wins on hard, and then loses to Mboko here, which was the first player to really kind of challenge her. And again, it did feel like it was a reset. Maybe you're right though. Maybe we don't talk about this as a trend until we see how she's in Cincinnati, where, you know, we could start shifting the conversation there a little bit. She doesn't have a bad draw in Cincinnati, to be honest. Like she's avoided Iga, who's in Sabalenka's half. And like we don't know who our opponent is yet because we're already just we're still only midway through the first round in Cincinnati. But you know, it's going to be Wang Xinyu or Emilia Arango. Wang Xinyu could be tough, but like could be a challenge, but likely not. Potentially a strength skill again in round 3 on a hard court. She's got more of a chance there. And yeah, there's just consistency questions with all of her opponents next up, which is why her draw might look okay. And maybe that's a chance for her to kind of build some momentum back up.
Yeah, she has one of those draws, and it could be great. It could be tough. Yastremska could be tough. If you got Ostapenko, then like that's a potential matchup in 4th round. Like could be tough. Will Ostapenko even get there? Who knows? We'll find out together. yeah, and then I mean quarterfinals. Paulini hasn't been playing the greatest. Svitolina's in that section. Noskova, Kruger. Yeah, it's like it could look great. It could be really tough. Like we don't know, but it's going to depend on her opponents as much as her.
Yeah, I'd say there's a good reason. Very much going to depend on which opponents kind of show up. Obviously, Osaka's in there as well. We'll see how she bounces back from this tournament. Before we kind of fully embrace kind of Cincinnati and just talk some big picture stuff there, would you say are your matches from Montreal, Carson?
Great question. I mean, I thought the Mboko Rybakina match was really high level. Kostiuk played a couple of really good ones against Kessler and Kazatkina. What else was there?
You mentioned one to me before we went online that I agreed with you was like really, really good.
Was that Kizmuhova?
Yeah, that
was a great one. It wasn't like the highest level match, but Belinda Bencic and Eugenie Bouchard was that second round? I think
it was second round because Bouchard decided to do the typical thing of like like last tournament boost in performance.
Yeah, I mean, that was fun to watch. It didn't have like a huge effect on the story of the tournament overall, I feel like, but I think that was a good match. Do you have any others, or I think you hit all the main ones. But
what was the other matches? I think Osaka Samsonova match points down, turned that match around. That was a good one. Aoito beating Paulini ended up being a bit of an epic there. In the only one, but yeah, I think it's tough to beat. Like the best match of the tournament by far was Mboko beating Rybakina in the semi-final, with the Keys-Mukova match probably being a close second. In my mind, I thought Keys-Mukova match was excellent, and yes, that was also a classic behind the back shot from Mukova was featured in that match. Yeah, I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head with those. All right, let's do 5 to 10 minutes on Cincinnati, and then we'll wrap up the show. So, yeah, we're not going to do a full draw breakdown because the tournament's already started. We're kind of midway through the first round. It's all over the place, so it's difficult to do a kind of match by match sort of here's how things are going to go. So I think Cincinnati, I think we're going to ask you this question, Carson, which I kind of prepped you for before the tournament. Who needs a good run in Cincinnati the most? Because to me, this is now, we're seeing Sabalenka hit the US hard courts for the first time. We'll see that tomorrow. We're going to see if Swiatek, where she's at on the hard courts at the moment, like post coming off a slightly disappointing calendar, and whether Coco Gauff can reignite things on these hard courts.
Yeah, I think Coco Gauff could be a name here. Maybe not as consequential for her. Sakari needs a good run anywhere. That'd be a good name to see make a run. Not like a top seeded player, but I think this got thrown out her name got thrown out in chat already, but like Peyton Stearns, I'm looking for her to have a decent run over these next few weeks. It's been a bit of a tough season for her for many reasons. I think Rybakina, this might be the true test of seeing where she's at in regards to the US Open. Can she, not that she has to win the tournament, but can she back up the performance in Canada and get back to the quarterfinals, get back to the semifinals? Semifinals might be tough. Sabalenka is in her quarter as well as Madison Keys, so won't be an easy road there as well, but can she beat a Madison Keys? Can she beat a Sabalenka and get to semifinals, quarters? That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I like that we're kind of going down the field a bit more here. I think anyone in that field could do with a good run, and 1,000 is always a really good opportunity for that. Jessica Pegula, I'm going to look at, can she get something going this hardcourt season? Because it's been, since winning Bad Homburg, it's not been going well for her. First round exit at Wimbledon, like slightly earlier than expected exits in Washington and then Montreal. It's not going great for her, and some of them have been really concerning collapses. So let's see if she can steady the ship a bit. I am interested to see where Sabalenka's at, not in terms of I have concerns, but this is a big chance for her to get some momentum going into the US Open, because this is her last chance to kind of to get a slam this year. And save her season might sound a bit strong, but when her main aim is to win slams, then this could be a season-defining run for her at this point. So we'll have to see where that is, because for me, Cincinnati is probably, as it seems to be, have emerged in sort of the post-pandemic era, the main place we get to see kind of a glimpse of what the US Open field's going to be like. Even if you look at the winners, like the last 2 years, the winner of Cincinnati's won the US Open, and the year before that, Caroline Garcia, you could argue, she made the semis and was maybe that was her best chance to win a slam. A bit unfortunate with who she had in the semis, maybe. So to me, it's like there's got to be a reason for that, and I think Cincinnati will tell us a lot about who's looking good at the US. So if you're a top player, you want to prove a point, and if you are sort of the chasing pack, as we mentioned a lot this episode, it's gonna be time to get themselves kind of give themselves some self-belief that they're going to be in the mix for the US Open.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out two more names that they're on pace to meet each other in the fourth round here. Emma Navarro, Carolina Muchova. Both of them semi-finalists at the US Open this year. Hasn't necessarily been the greatest season for either of them. But I think both of them could use a solid run here. This entire section of the draw, honestly, is really interesting. Kennan's in there, Kessler's in there, Sine Cartel and Caroline Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Polina Kudermetova as well, she's having a decent season. So that's a really interesting section of the draw.
Yeah, but you're right. I think Navarro and Muchova would probably be the favourites to come through that, and then that would be a really juicy fourth round if we got there. Got that. I would definitely I'd want to tune in for that, although they'll probably put it on at night, and I might be able to watch it. I can only stay up till 2 a.m. so many times, and I'm doing it. To answer the question, Garcia is in the draw, but not retired yet. She's going to be playing the US Open. Or want to play the US Open anyway, and will be looking to retire at some point this year. But Wimbledon was not her last tournament, which she didn't play. But the French Open was not her last tournament. So, former champion here in Cincinnati gets a wild card deservedly. Interested to see what she can do.
Yeah, I'm glad that she got a wild card for this tournament, and I mean, I don't think she's announced when she's officially done yet. It'll be sometime this season. I have a feeling that the US Open might be it.
A slam?
I think that could be her final tournament. I mean, I think if you know you're going to retire, maybe you don't want to play into late October in the Asian swing. It's final slam of the year. Like, we had a couple of decent runs there before, but again, who knows? I think said this before, but I think she'll play as long as her ranking allows her to keep getting into tournaments and getting wild cards. But I think it's good that she's still getting into these tournaments right now. But I think if it does drop off tremendously, I don't see her ending her career in a 250 somewhere.
No, maybe if there was a French 250, they're going to play indoors, but they don't do that on the WTA. That would be an ATP thing more. Yeah, I think US Open's probably it. I think you're right. Carson, you've been brilliant. Love this episode. Great guest to have on and to talk things through post Toronto. Yeah, which matches, WTA or ATP, are you going to be watching today?
I don't have the full schedule for today, which I should probably have.
Okay. Pick a second round match.
I don't know what time they're playing, but Alicia Parks and Krejcikova.
Oh yeah,
playing. That's interesting. Yeah, Cartel and Garcia, who we just mentioned, they're going to be playing today, and the other one from this tournament, I think Amelia Arengo and Xinyu Wang is going to be a fascinating match.
Good choices. Good choices there. That's going to be one to look forward to. Carson, thanks for coming on. Hope to have you back at some point. Thank you, all of you, for joining in with the live chat and throwing your comments out there and being part of the show. Thank you to all of you who are watching this back or going to be listening to this back if you're listening to the podcast. We will be back probably on Tuesday. I think immediate post-Cincinnati final will be a bit late for me, but we will see. But yeah, probably on Tuesday with a WTA Weekly to look back on what happened in Cincinnati and start looking ahead to the US Open. Exciting times ahead. Carson's ready to go as an American tennis fan. This is the best time of year for him. All right. And thanks to all of you. So yeah, we'll see you on the next episode of WTA Weekly. In the meantime, take care and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.